What up, YouTube? Today we're going to talk about dial indicators, what they are, and how to use them. Stay tuned. Alright, so this here is the dial indicator, this specific tool right here. And when this pin is pressed in, it'll take a measurement on the bottom. And it'll basically tell you how far back and forth something moves. And it can also be used to tell if you have warped rotors or tell if anything that spins is warped or if it's out of round. So I'm going to set this tool up and we're going to measure camshaft end play on a big block Ford V8. There are a couple different ways of mounting this. You need this tool to stay exactly in position. So you can, I'm sorry I'm kind of standing offset here, the light's a little in a weird spot for me, but you can use these vice grips and this tool here, and there's a little lever on this tool that you can lock it down and it'll make this stiff, and it's supposed to lock it in place. But I think there's a lot of margin for error when you use this, and I don't really trust these very much. Sometimes you have no choice but to use this if whatever you're working with, there's nothing magnetic nearby. But I actually have one of these. It is a magnetic base for the dial indicator, and for the purposes of what I'm going to use this for today, this magnetic base is going to work significantly better, and it's way more likely to stay in place and be sturdy than the old channel locks or vice grips and this thing here. So pretty much the same setup either way, it's just a matter of how you mount it. But we're going to actually take a measurement with this tool as well. Alright, so here's our Ford big block here that I'm building. And what we're going to do is we're going to set our dial indicator up against the cam gear. And we're going to stick a pry bar behind here and we're going to pry on it like that. And we're going to watch the needle move. And it has to be within a certain range. We can't have it moving too much. So what I'm going to do is take a paper towel and I'm going to put it right here so I don't screw up my paint. And then this is a nice flat level surface that we can put the magnetic base on, and then we'll get set up with the needle pointed right here on our dial indicator. Alright, so we got our magnetic base here to the engine. There's a little switch on the side that can turn the magnet on and off. And then you can adjust all of these little levers here. Clamp your dial indicator to this clamp. It took me a minute to figure out how to set it up because this is a Harbor Freight one, not the greatest dial indicator, but having one's better than not having one. So anyway, the setup is kind of stupid on this clamp, the way they have it set up, so I had to borrow the clamping mechanism from the actual kit. So anyway, I've got it right at the 0 mark here. And so now what we want to do is go ahead and take a pry bar. We've got our needle touching the cam gear. It looks like it's touching this rod, but it's not. And then we're going to stick our pry bar right behind here, and we are going to see what it reads. I'm also going to go ahead and zoom in a little for you so you guys can see. And then I'll grab this pry bar here. And it needs to be 1 to 6 thousandths. So basically we want it to move 1 to 6 of those lines. And it's basically only moving about 1. And I'm probably turning it some too, you know what I mean? There's some variation there. But it looks like we've got about 1/1000th of camshaft end play, which is totally fine. Now, we'll move on to the next thing I want to show you, which we can probably use with this exact setup here. All right, so I got us zoomed back out here, and if you hook this up, if we pretend that this cam gear is a brake rotor, we can actually turn it, and we can see if it's warped or out of round or whatever. And so it just fell off of the the gear here because the needle fell in the hole. But see, we can check how far out of round or how warped something is by turning it. And so if you do this with a rotor and you've got more than 2/1000ths of runout on your rotor, then generally speaking that will cause a vibration. Of course, I do want to throw out there that the cam gear is a rough, kind of a cast iron surface, nothing like a brake rotor. So if you saw the needle moving, that's expected, that's normal on something like this. But on a brake rotor, it's going to be very flat, very smooth, and therefore it should have next to no runout. So that's just a couple of ways that you can use a dial indicator to check the in and out movement of a particular part, or to check how flat and straight something is, or if it's warped. That's going to be the end of the video for today, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope this taught you something on how to use the dial indicator tool. Definitely a very important tool in the automotive industry from time to time. However, I will say you probably won't use it that much unless you're a machinist. Anyway, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.